We're going to call the meeting to order. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We have a number of people that are on the other side of an accident in Waiole, including our camera crew. So we have to make do with this one microphone. So project and speak loudly until they get here. I understand that Matt Wire is also on his way, and our city councilman, and he is also stuck in the traffic. So we'll just get going to respect everyone's time. This is recorded. And so maybe we'll encourage those who missed it to review it when they have an opportunity. The city canceled our last two meetings due to the Kona lows. And a lot has happened and transpired since that time. We felt we needed to have a regular meeting at some point relatively soon to really focus on the emergency preparedness and the flooding response. So this is an opportunity for hearing what's going on in the community, hearing how people responded, hearing the successes and the challenges, and celebrate those successes. There is an awful lot, and the stories that I've been hearing have been really, for me, reminding me what an amazing place this is. But also to talk about the challenges and things that you'd like to raise to our government reps. We have our government reps on the line. We also have the Department of Emergency Management head, I think, is there. We have our usual representatives in the governor's office and the mayor's office and our representatives in the legislature and the House. So I encourage you to share your thoughts. We thought we'd invert the agenda today and really start out hearing from the community and then giving our government representatives an opportunity to respond. Not believe me, you didn't. No, I mean, Wheeler. We will start out by listening to the outcomes of the flood meeting that our Huio Haula and our Haula Community Association facilitated, and they did a really good job. There was representatives from all of the communities represented on this board. And they came up with flood response plans. And I know that Dottie and her team have been working hard to synthesize that into recommendations to our public representatives and other folks. So, and then we're going to hear a little bit more generally about emergency preparedness. And then we'd like to open it up to the community to talk about their experience, their concerns, and any messaging that they would like to bring to our public representatives. And then we'll let our government partners respond. So what I'd like to do actually then is just turn it over to Dottie. I asked her to sort of co-chair this, so I'm going to hand it over to her. She's probably done more in this whole area to really push the issue of emergency preparedness. And so I think it makes sense for her to lead this discussion. Thank you. Well, okay. I didn't see our city and county folks.
We usually wait for you to meeting first, right?
That's okay. I didn't see you folks, so we switched to the next agenda. But let's just go back and you can do your reports, and then we'll go to Dottie. So thanks for coming. Yeah, you can come. Oh, actually, the camera crew is stuck in traffic.
So the mic is right here.
So the mic is right here.
Because
And
the meeting guys are not here.
And if you can, in your comments, if there's anything that you can address in terms of the flooding response and your from the perspective of HPD.
Okay, I'm Lieutenant Villaflor. I'm one of three lieutenants that handles the night watch from Makapu all the way to Koku. This is the Sergeant Pat Lu. He's in charge of this sector, and I have Officer Pickard here. He's actually one of the beat officers that patrols this area. So he's gonna do the stats, and then any questions you guys have, we'll answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so here's just some of the stats from March and April. I'll start with April. So we had 2 auto thefts, 5 burglaries, 5 thefts, 1 UEMD or unauthorized entry into a motor vehicle, and we had 0 robberies. And then in March, we had 3 auto thefts, 5 burgs, 0 thefts, 1 UEMV, and 1 robbery. So the stats probably from like olauloa Ranch down to the Huku side.
Any questions?
Any questions about what they just presented or in reference to HPD and our olauloa's experience the last 2 months?
I just have one. Recently, I've been noticing some cars that are flying past everybody on the corners and everything. And I think that happened at least 3 or 4 times already. And I think one was last night. And I could have sworn I saw that car speeding a while ago around the corner again. So I'm just wondering, what can we do? Because we don't know anything until they pass us around the corner and everybody's trying to figure what's going on. You know, so anyway, I just want that you focus on those cars that are still speeding.
So the immediate response would be call 911.
Right.
Non-emergency,
I did.
and if you get the car, the license plate, that's the immediate response. The second thing you can do is call it the 311 complaints. It's not OIC anymore, correct? I should know this, but I'll get you the number to call and all that. But then you send that and then you give us the time. So is your email? You have an email? I can email you?
Sure.
Okay, just Ben Schaefer.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happens is you give us a time frame of exactly when,
Okay.
and then they'll send it up all the way up the chain, comes down to us. And then we actually have to do direct enforcement on that specific area, those specific times. And then we send it back up to show that specific enforcement is needed. So again, the immediate one would be call 911. And then the next one is the 311 complaints. There's a different name though, but I'll send it to you. And that's for anything too, yeah. Any kind of drug activity, anything suspicious people, whatever, you just always call 911 and then and I'll send you the email for the complaint.
Just to add on to that, to address your concerns. We noticed that obviously we're on the roads patrolling, so we have officers doing active enforcement as well. Unfortunately, we can't be everywhere all at once, all at the same time, but we're definitely trying to do our due diligence, get out there, cite people. Whether that be a verbal counseling or a citation, certainly we like to educate people that, hey, we need to slow down a bit for sheer community safety. But we're out there actively doing active enforcement.
And good to know that specific area.
You know that corner, what corner that is?
That was in Waikani, when when you go in, coming from Kahoot, right around the corner, going off, coming this way, and you get that, the speed bend.
Yeah.
Right, and then you bend back and you go straight. But right around that corner, he passed me and, anyway.
That's while you're driving.
Huh?
It's while you're driving, they're overtaking
Yeah,
you.
while I'm driving, right, so he's right on the corner doing that, anyway. Anyway, it just bothered me that these guys are still doing that. And they're not busted and they kind of take us away, whatever. Because, we don't want them hitting anybody.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you.
I just, something, I just wanted, congratulations to the flooding was happening in South there. But they helped my neighbor who's down she called me 2:30 in the morning and I told her call 911 because she is on a wheelchair and I couldn't get her up to the stairs, the second floor, and the water was coming in. And so I just wanted to thank, because they came and they helped, and then of course the ambulance and, okay, but thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
Similar to, I'm a Kobe wife, from, similar to Ben's concerns on the highway as far as reporting of kids on the e-bikes going down the middle of the highway, standing on it, going, and I usually see it when I'm driving. So it's kind of hard to like catch a picture of it. But it's crazy.
Yeah, so we're doing active enforcement with that too. We have our crews and our other plainclothes units actively addressing that as well. But like we would be good to have specific times, but those guys are all over the place. So it's hard to
And it's
determine, yeah.
crazy, because
Yeah.
like cars are stronger than a kid on a bike,
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, and they're wearing helmets too, right?
No.
Well,
No.
okay, so would you guys be able, small community, would you guys be able to identify, like, know the kids? 'Cause that would help too, if you guys know the kids, we can figure out who the parents are, we
We
can
knew
find
the
the
kid, we
bikes.
will put him on sale.
We'll talk to their parents.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah. So we definitely
They're the
actively,
only kids.
Okay, we've got any other board members? We have two community members that have questions. I think.
I just wanted to agree that twice today, out of my 3 drives, I saw kids driving their motorcycles, or their, I don't know if they're dirt bikes, but they're, they're doing wheelies, they're gonna crash into one of us, it's gonna cause a terrible accident. And they're all in a group, and they just come back and forth, up and down this highway. They, well, doing wheelies. But
Yes.
tell me,
so again, the community is our best source of information, right? So if you can relay a message to the community, if we can figure out where they're starting, where they're stopping, where they're congregating, that's where we can converge our units on and we can, oh. We can identify them and take, we can even take the bikes if it's unlicensed too, and then issue citations and whatever. But if the community can all help, that's the best way. Because if it's the 911 way, it's just reaction rate. When you call at this area, by the time we respond, they're gone. So we can be proactive, but that's why we have these meetings, right? So and I'll get you all that information.
Thank you. We have one person on, Casey Connors.
I put it in the chat. I was happy to see at first that in the resilience budget, there was something for Kahuku substation climate resilience and remediation assessment. But then at the meeting online with the resilience office, the climate change office, they said something, it might not go to Kahuku, even though it's listed as Kahuku, might go to Pupakea. Do you know anything? Are you receiving any monies for your police station? If so, how much and for what?
I'm not sure what you're asking, ma'am, but I can, we can get that answer for you. That's above our pay grade. I wouldn't know
Oh,
where the monies are going.
okay.
Yes.
All right. It sounded great. Mahalo.
Sorry. Couldn't answer that.
We have one more. Catherine? One more question.
I wrote mine in the chat. In Punaluu, at the far end of the park where there was a house that was removed and now sits up on Homestead Road, there is a apparently sanctioned encampment that has appeared, which is fine. I'm not filing against that. But there's also a public access point at the far end, which someone has been living in. And recently that has been chained off. And with this, I do have a concern. Is this something you folk can speak to them about, or who does that the DLNR?
Might be DLNR, but I know that lot that you're talking about, the house that was
Yeah.
removed. Like, do you know the property owner? Did he still property own property? Or did city county take over?
That's Austin. It's city and county, it's
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
city and
it's just,
county
it was
is-
chained. It's a public access. It shouldn't be chained. I'm just curious who we ask. Just curious. The
Yeah,
other
yeah,
thing
I
is
could-
kind of curious. I'd be curious to know what that lot has become, because it's an interesting new
No,
Oh,
situation.
yeah, it does look like a whole group of people kind of took over and it's like their own beachfront lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, I know what you're talking about. We'll check,
Thank you.
I'll check
I'm
to see
just-
if the chain was put up by them. Or if it's, or where the chain.
Yeah, and maybe the DLNR putting it up, trying to get them to shift out of it because they've got the
Yeah.
other space. I'm just curious. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to, recognize, Mr. Speaker, I think you're fourth generation law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
Third,
Yeah, grandpa was
Grandpa.
HPD,
right?
dad went FBI and
Congratulations,
they.
continue on. Family tradition.
we're getting taller.
Oh, yeah, so like our lieutenant was saying, like, we all know each other. We get that parents' name,
Right.
we go to the house. Stuff like that.
So,
Wow.
thank you. Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, I'll email you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for the questions.
Thank
See you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the fire department? No. We don't have the United States Army. Let's go on to the presentation. And Dottie is going to take over at this point. We're going to report out on recommendations and outcomes from the olauloa emergency flood meeting held on Tuesday, April 7th here in response to the olauloa flooding. Dottie is the head of our community resilience and emergency preparedness committee. I'm sorry?
Or just give them time to set it up.
Sure.
So if you can have.
Don, should we just wait a few minutes? So
10 minutes.
10 minutes or 5 minutes? Okay, we're just gonna give our cameraman 5 minutes to set up. He was stuck behind an accident and came in a little late.
So much. You did that very fast. I know you're under some stress, so thank you. I'd also like to introduce our newest board member in Auntie Kella's lap. So this is the meat of it. This is really, as I said, an opportunity to have some really good discussion. And I think a lot of people have learned a lot and experienced a lot with the Kona flooding. And as I said, Dottie did a good job facilitating a meeting a few weeks ago on flood control. It was a nice format, a lot of good feedback, really proactive work. And so commendations to her. Nice job. And what we'd like to do is spend a little bit of time listening to the outcomes of that meeting. I attended. I know many of you attended. I know many of our council people attended. So thank you. So Dottie, please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I turn this up a little bit or is this enough? Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. Really, I'm just going to echo the voices of our communities, which is so true and so important. In 2021, we had a flood meeting too. Hurricane Douglas left us a lot of gifts, a lot of water. And we had terrific flooding during that time. And so I thought, well, we did this right after Hurricane Douglas, so we'll do it again, a flood mitigation meeting. And on April 7th, we convened about 60 people in this room, and it was busy and buzzing, and people were divided into all the different community groups, and there were 6 or 8 people per community. So it was a really full room and a really positive night, I thought. And what we asked people to do in their groups were to first share their experience in the flood. Second, have a discussion at their table and ask one another what had happened and get explanations and talk all about it. And then the next thing people did was they started talking about mitigation strategies. What can be done about this flooding? And so we asked them to have a reporter and a recorder and an encourager and a timekeeper, and they did all of that. And I was so proud of everybody working really, really hard to get this information together from their groups. We asked each group to have their recorder record on a big piece of paper. And so you can just imagine we must have gotten at least 12 to 15 responses from each group. So I thought tonight, I'm really going to just try to cut them back to a group of issues that seem to go across the whole spectrum of all the communities and share that information with you. And it's not like rocket science, but it is something that we think we need to talk about some more, and not just talk about it, but we need some advocates in this room who will help us reach our goals in mitigating the floods. Some of it's up to us, and we hope we will have partners with our communities and our city and our state so that everybody steps up their game, because that's what we really need to do. In 2021, everyone left this room and they said, you know what? The government's not going to show up. So we're going to form stream teams at every major stream that floods. And I know that worked for a while, but over time, it kind of diminishes. You don't have a flood. People just kind of let go of it. But there's so much to do in our streams and at the stream heads. And all of that takes, I think, everybody working together. So what I'm going to say is there's a picture. We saw a lot of those pictures of Kona lows, and we saw them keep coming by again and again and again. And so what I'm going to try to focus on tonight is mitigation strategies. And at the end, I'd like to hear from you if you think I left out. I see a lot of faces here that were at that meeting. And so if you think I've left out something really important, please share it back, okay? One is property owners are legally responsible for stream management. And a lot of us don't know this. I bought a house, my first house in Hauula, the first day I drove into town. And one day we had a flood. And I had a stream right next to my house. I did not know that I was responsible for cleaning that stream. So number one, I think we've got to be sure that there's something in place through the real estate brokers or through the city or the state. Somebody lets homeowners know in a really upfront way what their responsibility is, because it's a big responsibility, and to clean out streams. And so maybe you can get your neighbors and others to help, but we are responsible according to the state law. And so is there a city law like that too, Matt? Yeah, yeah. So there's an ordinance from the city too. If you have a stream on your property, you probably own at least half of that stream. And that's your responsibility. That's what they say. So next, I also want to mention that communities need to advocate for changes to get the city and the states to support their stream maintenance. And lots of times that's very, very critical. If you have a little bitty stream, maybe it doesn't matter, but there aren't very many little bitty streams here. And so we all know the big ones, and they are ferocious. But on a nice summer day, it's going to be something we have to do, is work to clean those streams. But we also need, a lot of times we need permission to go into those streams, because if we use big equipment or need to move big things around, we might need machinery. And we can't put machinery into streams, as far as I know, without permission. And there are a lot of DLNR and possibly city rules about that. And we need to know all those rules. We need to get really good about doing our homework and seeing what we have to do to go into those streams and do a good job. Let's see. So focusing on mitigation strategies, the state should also assist with stream cleaning and opening up streams to flow to the ocean. All of us know, if you live near a stream, that many of those streams are kind of locked in with a lot of other sand, and they can't even get out. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the stream at Pokewai where poor Junior Permasio was digging out this little break in the sand to try to get water to the ocean. And he was 80 years old. That shouldn't be happening. We need the state to step up and get that equipment out there and be ahead of the game. When they get a weather forecast, which they get it way before we do, then they should go out and take those machines and clear out those stream heads so the water can flow out and not be blocked. I think these are things we all know, but they're things sometimes I think we have to be reminded of. Also, 4 is the Department of Transportation needs to remove debris under bridges ahead of storm. And, you know, Department of Transportation is responsible for that. That is their job, and we have to hold them to it. We do. And maybe we'll have to have a meeting out here with Ed Sniffen about that. But, you know, we aren't his favorite people, I'm afraid. But we talk to him about this road all the time. But we really do know that Ed was on TV and got some good publicity showing how well he was working with communities, and by golly, he can come work with ours too, right? So we've got to call Department of Transportation and talk to them about our bridges and getting them cleared out and the streams cleared out, right? Let the water flow. At Kahana Valley, the community needs state assistance to keep the streams clear and prevent flooding of homes. They made that really clear to me in the Kahana team. They really don't, you know, Kahana Valley is a state park, and the state should be going in there. They have that kind of responsibility too. So they need to work with the homeowners and provide them with assistance. And my goodness, I know Kahana Valley pretty well, and I know a lot of people there. A lot of older people are in Kahana Valley, and it would be really hard for them to do all that cleaning on their own. Right, Ben? Yeah. Okay, so let's see. The third slide, the next slide, yeah, you're on it. Residents must evacuate early to avoid being trapped by flood waters. Many, many times think, you know, we all do this. We wait and see, wait and see. But if we wait too long, we can't get out. And in Punaluu and other locations, the roads were flooded a lot. And so when the roads are flooded, we can't get out. So, and that's another thing about this road, right, gang? This road is never, we can never take it for granted. We always know it can be blocked at any moment in time. And so I highly recommend, and the people talking in this group, we're aware of it as well, that you just can't wait. You need to move early and move carefully so you're safe when you're moving on those roads. Emergency alert systems need to be improved in all communities. I don't think we have enough, number one. I can't hear my emergency alert horn going off at the beach park. How many can hear the emergency alert at your home? I don't think most of us can. So I know most of them are working, but if you find out your emergency alert system is not working, that's something we need to know about. But I really think they need to be expanded so we hear those emergency alerts. When the power is down, a lot of people, most people don't get information coming over the internet, and they don't get it on their TV. So how are we supposed to know unless there are emergency alerts? And people need to remember that. They need to use all the alert systems possible and frequently so people have access to that information. Next slide, yeah. Communities need access to resilience hubs and should evacuate before roads are flooded or blocked. Yep. Oh, did I skip that one? Was that the last thing? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and an alternative, here we go with Ed Sniffen again. An alternative access road is needed in and out of Olauloa. This is one of the biggest deals we have. How could I skip it? So we all know this. We all need this. And the Kona low storms really showed this to us. It was on the front page all the time. The Waimea Valley area was blocked with boulders. Kualau Ranch was also flooded, okay? And many places were flooded along in between. And so we know that this road is always very iffy. In fact, the community has put together this great website, and most everybody goes on. Before you go, you find out whether or not the Waikele why Holy Bridge is open, right? And so we know where the weaknesses are, but they can happen any day, anytime, and we're stuck. Whether we have important appointments, doctors, we're going to see a doctor, or whether it's an emergency of some sort, that is going to have to wait because we only have one road, and that is not acceptable. So these are all things we are really going to have to work on hard and really step up our game somehow. Thank you, Mike, for
Sure. Dottie, how many strategies do we have?
altogether we have just 6 more.
6 more. Okay, good, good. Oh, no, you're
Sure.
doing great. No, and I think it's good to spend time on that. I just wanted to have a sense. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think it's better to give you these strategies, this 12 strategies, and try to give you 60. So we're trying to go the fast course, but the important course. I think we're picking out the highlights here. So I was mentioning resilience hubs, and everybody knows we're working on one. I'll share that. But a resilience hub can be many things to many people. And in Olauloa, after a long assessment here in Hauula, we figured out that along with the help of Bert Green, who ran our emergency preparedness efforts here for a long time, and he was very careful and military guy, and he knew what he was talking about. He recommended to me before he retired, he says, Dottie, you've got to go after this resilience hub. And that's where we're doing our best to do. And at the end, I'm going to give you a little rundown of where we are with that. But a resilience hub can be your home if you have everything there and you're out of danger and you can stay there through any kind of emergency. And that's where you should stay. But many times we have homes in flood areas or within the tsunami zone, and we need to watch out for ourselves. And so the problem on the island is many times DEM has identified places as shelters, and they always say, come at your own risk. It's the last thing you should do is come to this shelter. And the reason is, and they pointed this out to us, those shelters have not been tested for high winds. We don't know that they really protect any of us from anything, except they might be high enough, some of them, and out of the flood and tsunami zone. So that would be the advantage if it's not a hurricane. But so we need to still work on resilience hubs. And I believe we need more than one resilience hub in Olauloa. We have recently looked at the cost of a resilience hub, and it's very big. I go to all the building conferences and electric conferences and wastewater conferences, just trying to learn more about the details of building that resilience hub. And we're working with good planners and good architects, but it's very expensive. We're going to give you a little update on where we are right now with that. But another major issue is food security, of course. We all ran into this. Food security is so big. In Hauula, I guess many of you already know this, but both of our grocery stores, one in Hauula and the one in Laie, did shut down during this emergency. And in Hauula, Tamura's was covered with septic water and from a leak. And so what a bad situation that was. And then, of course, everyone buying food at Foodland, they ran the store out of food. So we had no people coming in to replenish that food, no trucks coming in because our roads were blocked, and we had a real shortage of food. Thankfully, a lot of the nonprofits out here have food, and we're able to distribute a lot of food. And we worked really hard at that. So hopefully no one went hungry. But food security is something you need to provide for yourself as much as possible. You know, stashing that food in your house and having a lot available so that you have it in emergencies. Emergency communication is needed, like the Starlink system that we were recently able to set up, but we need more to reinforce that system. I know that this year I need to go out and talk to the teams, be sure they're getting the word out to the community, because I think that's the next step. And I encourage them to do that already, but I'm going to have to get my pom-poms out and go back and encourage everybody. We need to really be able to just turn that Starlink on or keep it on all the time and let our community know, teach them how to use the Starlink system for communication, because it's the best thing we're going to have right now with, I should say right now, because you never know what's going to be invented tomorrow. But right now, it's the best thing we have when our power is off. And so we need to try to use it and access it better. So we have 5 Starlinks across Olauloa, and that means that people could go and text as long as they have the access code and they have they've downloaded the app for Starlink. So, but there needs to be a little community a lot of community outreach in each community, so you know where your Starlink is and how to access it. And so that's going to be, it's #1 at the top of my list coming in the next few months. And I'm going to be meeting with all the teams that have responsibility for Starlinks and be sure that starts working. And if you want to be on one of those teams, just let me know, because we encourage each of the sites to have a group of people. It takes a group. And so we hope that you can participate in that. Okay, next slide. And of course, dialysis. And I think this is the last one, right? Oh yeah, the next one is the Resilience Hub. Dialysis is big out here. We have many people, I think it's 30% of the population is on dialysis. And dialysis, if you don't go to town and get your dialysis every week, and sometimes some people have to do that more than once a week, then they're going to have a health problem really fast. It gets very serious. And so we know that right now we should be figuring out, along with Kahuku Medical Center and other medical sites here in Olauloa, how we're going to continue to provide people with dialysis services. And this is life-threatening. We all know this, and it's something that we just can't ignore at all. So I know that Kahuku Medical Center is putting out a survey right now, and if you haven't filled it out, you need to do that right away, because this survey is not just frivolous at all. It's about them stepping up their game. They're going to be offering a lot more services at the medical center, and they will base those services on what you've put in the survey. So the survey is very important. And then last but not least, we found that grocery stores and other stores need backup generators. If we're going to be able to use them and access supplies and resources, they have to stay open. And somehow we need to help our businesses realize that and talk to them about it and encourage them to do that. It's not, it's not any kind of special science. Just have a generator and keep those freezers and everything going so people can access the services there. And the last but not least, the next slide. Mike asked me to talk a little bit about the Olauloa Resilience Hub. I think we haven't talked about it in a long time, so I'm going to give you an update. We did complete an environmental assessment in 2024. G70 did that for us, and it's 1,000 pages thick. And anybody can go online. If you want to have the link, just, send me a quick text and I'll send you the link. You can read the whole thing. It's an amazing job that they did. We also had a preliminary design done. And then in 2025, we realized what had happened. The government had really changed course in a lot of ways, and we weren't going to be able to go after the really the North Star of funding that we were focused on at the time was the FEMA BRIC grant, which would provide up to 50 million to complete a facility like that. And that was our big hope after we started the project with the HUD funding. We were hoping we could get FEMA funding. However, that didn't seem possible anymore. And so our board met and we said, hey, let's do something that will still build this facility at least to save lives. So we can build a shelter like a big gymnasium of some sort that is very, very strong and will withstand hurricanes up to category 5s. But we're not going to have the big fancy building that we originally thought we wanted. But so we have actually put the hold on this building, and we are still focused on building a building. And we are working with the City and County of Honolulu, DEM, Department of Emergency Management, and we are now in their budget. They will be finishing the building after we finish using the HUD funding. The managing director told me, you use HUD money first. We can't mix funds up. There'll be, you know, federal funds and other funds. It's really sticky to do that. And so that we're following the direction that the city has given us. And what we know is that we'll be able to still accommodate 600 people instead of, I think our amount was 1,500 originally. We wanted to be able to support in the facility, but now it will be 600. And so we cut it well in half. But it will still be able to withstand the, it'll be out in the flood and tsunami zone. It will withstand category 5s, and the design will be different from this. We are in the process now of revising some of the plans and also looking at our NEPA and completing, NEPA is a federal environmental assessment that has to be done whenever you use federal money. This is not the fun part.
Dottie.
This is, yeah.
So we're going on about that. This has been really, really great. I am concerned about having enough time for community folks.
Okay.
So if we maybe another minute or two, if we can. Yeah.
Sure. Basically go to the next slide. Yeah. Is there another one? Okay. And on the next slide, this is just a review, if you look at it, of all the things I've really shared with all of you before. Just a reminder that we'll have medical services there, dialysis services, safety and security for pets and people, 600. Community will be actively engaged in planning, and many of you have already. We'll be serving the community well there as a new facility for Hui o Ha'ula, and bringing all of our trusted partners along with us. We'll be providing a variety of spaces and services, educational, social, and so forth. So it will be many of the same services and more, because it will be really over twice as big as this facility, even broken down to a lesser size. So now I'll just let people ask questions or make suggestions, because if you think I've missed a major issue that you want to be able to put on the stage, please do that.
If I can just use the
Yeah.
prerogative of chair, I do have a comment though, and that's that I did participate in the Hauula group, and I was really impressed with some of the real granular thinking about the Hauula community, specifically like Halai Street and some of the issues specific. What I'm hoping will come out of the flood mitigation plan is these general mitigation strategies, but then maybe a page for each of the communities to take back to their community associations specific
Right.
to the issues that were brought up towards them.
I do have all those all ready to go out. I just thought I will email them to the whole group. And if you have, if you don't get one, let me know. If you particularly if you weren't on a group, just let me know if you want to see that list. There's a lot of information and a lot of good ideas, but I think we've summarized them pretty well here. I might have left something out. Not perfect.
Do we have any? Thank you, Dottie. That was great, and it just the amount of work that you put in this, and thought, and love and care is just impressive and inspiring. So thank you. Any comments on Dottie's work and questions?
Auntie Kella, just want to thank you for sharing. And I'm hoping that all of us will go back to our communities to let them know that's not only for Hau'ula, this is for all of us. And saving lives is one of the first priority that I know that you know, and we all know that that's the most important thing. I was just very grateful that in this flooding we had no drowning or people dying from flooding. So thank you, Dottie, for bringing this forward. I support it
You're welcome.
110%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes. Can we get a microphone to the young lady there?
Hi, aloha, Olivia Wallace here from Kahana. And I know you did talk and touch on Kahana. I did want to share that because of our diligent efforts with doing stream restoration and caring for our water pathways, that we did not flood in Kahana. That's because we've been doing that, prepping in the summers for the winters. And so we also hope that, other communities are able to do that. However, it is like our responsibilities as people of this space, of this aina, to also care for our water pathways. So if you are not of the community, or you're not like kupa aina of the space, then you might not know about that. But I do agree with you sharing that, things should be educated to community to know that, if you do live by a stream, then it is your responsibility to care for it. However, because we are all, recipients of the water that is being used in our community, then we do have that responsibility to care for it. Also, because Kahana is one of the wettest places here in Hawaii, and our water is being diverted to, the west side of Oahu, we do not get as much water as we would have. So that does affect, like our ecosystems and our natural habitats. However, if we do, kilo or observe our natural elements, and, build that relationship with the environment, then you would then understand, during the seasonal times or changes, what predictions might happen during those times. So hope that can help our community in being better prepared for natural disasters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia.
That's awesome. Evelyn.
And for me on the beach side of Kahuku at the Kahuku Senior Hau'ole Hale, we don't have any support from our management. We're not allowed to own generators or hold propane stoves or propane in our homes. We are not able to have a management team that will stay there to make sure that we have, we're cared for and that we have somebody to take care of a lot of residents who are, disabled and housebound and with cognitive decline. And many of our residents never hear that there is a storm coming if we don't get our managers to put out a notice. And we have, many times I've had to ask that it be done. And then after that, we're just left on our own. And during the storm, we lost power for quite a long time and our residents were unable to phone their relatives or do anything. So I was grateful. I went over to the hospital. They brought us over a generator and a charging station, and they helped get our seniors power back up. But, when our management did not even put out any sandbags or offer the residents the sandbags, they would tell you you can come and get sandbags, but what of our residents could carry their sandbags around and set up this stuff and to give it to them and leave it them like that. And then in this flood was the first time that I have ever seen, there's a reservoir across from the Kahuku Chapel. And when Senator He was in office, he had that reservoir put in and a drain that goes this way and a drain that goes this way. And I couldn't understand why he had done that because I never saw water going into it until the night of the storm, the last one. And we had so much water, it was finally filling up from both sides. And I was thinking, we're going to have to evacuate to the golf course because we can't get across the street. And the golf course closes and the gate closes. So we have this kind of thing where we have to get a memorandum of understanding so our folks can evacuate to the golf course if we have to. And I think we need the help of emergency management or city council. And we also need legislation or ordinance changes to require anybody who is housing seniors that are in a low income or any income, if it's private or public, but especially the state housing authority needs to require and sponsor legislation that we cannot be leaving seniors alone like this. We're going to end up being just like Florida.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. I extended the unilaterally, hope the board forgives me, the comment times to 3 minutes instead of 2, because I had a feeling people would be having, if that's okay, but I'm also going to try to keep things moving a little bit. So, but good feedback from.
I have a comment for one.
Sure.
Evelyn, let's get some electric Jackery generators over there. They could be put in your community room, and then people could come to the community room to access. Yeah, we will do that.
Evelyn, you brought up a lot of stuff, so it was, yeah, and I'm hoping. I'm hoping there's an opportunity for some dynamic dialogue with your. Okay. 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 So let's see. We have Casey Connor.
I'll be quick. First, I'd like to mahalo, Dottie. Excellent. Just thank you. But quickly, could the Hawaiian community address that? For decades, I've heard of stories that the Hawaiian community cleaned out the streams, but there's traditional knowledge because the streams can move tremendously, I was told, and the elders knew about that. And I didn't know if that's something we've lost because so many people have been pushed and priced out of our area. And secondly, I haven't heard, only just very briefly, we have choke illegal vacation rentals all up and down here. How are they cleaning the streams? But more importantly for me, the safety of the tourists. They have no kits, no extra water, no extra food, no idea what to do. And nobody has any idea how many tourists there are, who they are in an emergency. So they're illegal, most of these. They haven't been shut down by DPP. Even like 10 years ago, we counted 1,000. That's including single rooms, and they've boomed since then. So how in the world, if it gets really bad, is the community going to handle that? Because I think it puts a tremendous stress on the community and the emergency services. Mahalo.
So how do we factor in illegal vacation rentals and our tourist population into our emergency and flooding planning? Any other responses to go ahead, Tessie.
Aloha. Oh, my name is Renee Fonoimoana, and I just I know that Puyo Haula and Haula Community Association has been in communication with the Kahuku Community Association, and we were instrumental in going up to the Hau'olihale, and I thought we started some conversations to where that community would be more in looking out for the Kahuku senior citizens. And so I just want to ask Atalina, are you still on the board, or where can we find out what happened to that effort? Oh, no. Thank you, but I want to hear from the.
Hello, everyone. So during the Konolo storms, we were able to contact Evelyn to see if they were all right. We brought a school bus to see if they wanted to be evacuated to the Kahuku Elementary, which none of our elderly wanted to evacuate. They wanted to shelter in place. And then I'm not sure if Cynthia reached out or if anyone reached out, because we did have sandbags that we were passing out into the community. Okay.
Can you speak in the microphone, Evelyn, please? Or we have two microphones.
Can she finish first,
Yeah.
please?
And then speaking on behalf of the Kahuku Community Association, the grant that Hui Ho'ula had to service Hau'olihale, they were able to fund kupuna navigators. They were able to provide them with emergency kits and a Starlinks. And I think one thing to understand is Kahuku Community Association is made up of volunteers. We don't have any funding. So taking that conversation and turning it into something that could be implemented moving forward would take more than just Kahuku Community Association. We would have to partner with, like Evelyn was talking about, city and county, DEM, moving forward for it to be sustainable. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. And so I know Evelyn was at the meeting that we were at, and I actually shared with the residents that was there that in times of disaster, that Hui Oha'ula would not be going to the site because we will be taking care of our own communities. And so I'm just suggesting that maybe we need to revisit that. Hearing what Evelyn shared is, you know, fortunately, well, we have family members that live there, so of course we're concerned. We're all concerned about it. But I think we need to move forward and try to see how we can support them more, because I do know that Dottie went to Kahuku Hospital and met with their board, and they reached out to provide some services as well. And I understand about your volunteer board because we're all volunteers as well. And so maybe somehow or another, we can get another nonprofit to look at specifically addressing the Kahuku senior community and also getting on the city about their management and the types of services that they're providing. This is ridiculous. And I think as community members, we should be looking out for them, because maybe someday I'll be moving there. Here's a good place, you know, and I know one person in here who probably is going to speak after me is a board member, and I know at one point she was working there. So if Willa would like to add something, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
The only thing I wanted to add, I just wanted to ask a question. I know that there's a lot of people, you know, I think when I'm hearing the conversation, it's who's going to do what, right? State, city, you know, the property owners. But I would say in every situation, there's going to be a primary person that has ultimate responsibility for the situation, right? If you're the landowner, when I'm hearing what Dottie's saying, then you have a responsibility to help take care of the stream that your property's adjacent to, right? Obviously, they can't do it alone because it's flowing water that goes and empties out into the ocean. So it's a collective effort, but we got to start off with the people that have the first responsibility is what I see. And when I'm looking at what Evelyn's saying, my question is the management company or organization that's responsible for the residents there, what is their responsibility? And you don't have the answer because I don't know that you have the answer for them, but that's my question. If they're not, we're looking at other people elsewhere to come in that's made up of volunteers with no funding, but we got to start off with the person with primary responsibility. And that's a question I have. Yes, I did work there a long time ago. It was another management company that I think that was responsible for them. But in every situation, we have to look at who's the first and second tier people that are responsible for that. I think sometimes we jump very quickly outside of that, but we got to look internal first before we look outside. That's just my thought.
Evelyn, this is a really important discussion. I mean, the two things that I'm hearing in this follow-up and supplementing the mitigation strategies from Dottie is one, we really need a senior emergency response strategy, particularly for the communities that have a high concentration of seniors and low-income communities. The second one is, what do we do about the large tourist population that is using our legal vacation rentals? And what's hard about these discussions, and Uila really has nailed it, is kind of like, where does the center of that discussion have to happen? And who needs to be at the table? And there's kind of two steps to that. One of them is at the initial community discussions. How do we hold people accountable who need to be held accountable? And someone needs to do that. So who's going to follow up on that? And then we find out who can actually do the work to actually do the response. And can we use for Elderly Affairs Division? Can they be helpful in this? Can DEM be helpful in this in some capacity? Because it's really kind of a little bit of a disaster waiting to happen here. So thank you. Go ahead. Yep.
Thank you. I've been talking about this for about 2.5 years now and trying to get attention to our community. And that's why we had that mitigation day that was planned, but we had to cancel it and postpone it until later. But I wasn't even thinking about flooding back then. But in general, no matter what disaster might befall us, our management will tell us that we are independent. We are living in independent housing. We're like no anything other than any other independent housing. And they have no duty or responsibility based on HUD's law, which I can cite for you, but I have to look it up on my internet, how they do not have to come and help us. And until we change some of these housing laws, our state could require that these things be done, whether or not it's HUD. We could also try to affect some of the legislation. But in the meantime, I think because, sorry, Matt, the city and the county own the property and lease it to the owners that we are tootling under. And it's not our managers. They can't do anything about it. They can only follow what their supervisors tell them in town. And that's it. That's all they get to do. And we are left alone. And there is responsibility that would come from the state housing authority and from the city and county. The Elders Affairs does more of giving you information on how to find resources. We've asked for their services. We've asked for lots of services from every entity that we can get a hold of. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. I just want to queue up our public representatives. We will turn to you for response. I think these are two things that we're hoping you might be able to speak to, is the senior emergency response and support systems, and the tourist population, particularly the impact of illegal vacation rentals, and how do we integrate them into it? Because it doesn't, it doesn't matter that it's an illegal rental. If someone's life's in danger, we need to have the system in place to take care of that and to help with that. So, good discussion, everyone. This is what I was hoping for. Elgin, and then was there somebody online? No, they've taken their hand down.
On the illegal vacation homes, why don't they make it criminal offense instead of what it is now? Because what it is now, nobody's afraid of it. But if they're going to go to jail with Class C, the brokers, the real estate agents, and the owners, we wouldn't have this problem anymore. But I start thinking that the state and the city and the politicians own a lot of these homes and don't want to do that.
Yeah. Thanks, Elgin.
I could just add one little thing.
Okay, Evelyn.
Not about the vacation rentals, but about the budget for funding these. We need a lot of infrastructure projects to take care of all of this. And because the Department, the Tourist Authority, Department of State Tourist Authority, they get a lot of money from their taxes that we give and the tourists pay. But we need to have that money put back into our infrastructure for emergency management and our roads, and so our residents can get around. We need to spend more money on us and a little bit less money on tourism right now.
Okay, good discussion. I'd like it to spin on for a little bit longer, but I also do want to get our government representatives an opportunity to respond. Andrea, you have your hand up?
Sorry. Yes, I was just going to say that, are there any rules at this housing project in Kahuku where you can't have sandbags permanently stored right by your house, say in a plastic container, one of those? I have that at my house in Kaarawa up on the hill, and it's saved us from flooding many times. And just keep the sandbags there year round in a box when needed. They come out and cover where they need to. And in those houses, I believe they're concrete block. Pretty much if you can just divert the flow of the water, you might not flood. And also, I believe that everybody should have like a family-sized tent somewhere if they can afford it at all. Or we can have some of those stored, maybe in your anybody's various emergency places. That's all I have to say.
Thank you,
if
Andrea.
your house blows away.
Thank you.
Once the initial hurricane or whatever is over with.
Good suggestions. Okay,
Fill it
let
down.
Atalina, and then I think Rainbow is on the line, and she wanted to share a little bit about the Olauloa Resilience Hub Network. But Atalina, go ahead.
I just wanted to share, when we were working boots on the ground in Lahaina, one of the first priorities that they had was to move all of the tourists out so that they could focus on the residents. And I think they moved them to the convention center here on Oahu.
And that would be a part of a plan that takes into account specifically our tourist population out here, right? Rainbow, did you want to share?
Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I was just checking in and wanted to share a little bit about Ko'olau Resilience Hub Network and how we activated within the first 24 hours after the storm. Is this an appropriate time to do that?
Sure, you have maybe
Okay.
3 minutes. Can you do it in 3 minutes?
I'll try.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so the Ko'olau Resilience Hub Network, for those of you who don't know, was established in 2024 by Vibrant Hawaii, and it's a coordinated network across the entire Ko'olau. There are 15 nonprofit organizations and community-based orgs involved in this. And on March 20th, 5 network partners, Key Project, Ho'ala'ina Kupono, Haleofa, Lahui Foundation, and Nurture Cultivate Inc., all worked and activated to lead a community-based response to severe weather impacts. And then within the first 48 hours, the second heavy rain event was still unfolding. The network deployed $42,000 in food line gift cards to over 150 families across Hau'ula, Ka'a'awa, Laie, Kahuku, and Punalu'u. So some of you might also be recipients of that. This early action not only addressed urgent food insecurity, but provided real-time insight into the scale and distribution of need. Within the first week, from March 22nd to March 28th, there was daily canvassing in geographically isolated valleys and under-resourced communities, including migrant and agricultural workers. Directed assistance with damage assessments and SNAP food replacement applications, including Wi-Fi access. We also have Starlink's device support and translation services, distribution of critical supplies like food, water, cleaning, hygiene, supported by $150,000 in direct investment and partnerships with 42 organizations providing in-kind resources. Again, 42 organizations providing in-kind resources. We established 7 points of distributions within Laie, Pupukia, and Hau'ula, and multiple neighborhood level micro hubs. And then we did the coordination of nearly everyday rollaway bin operations to support debris removal aligned with Malama'aina practices. And then over week 2, outreach was focused on supporting farmers, completing DEM and state damage assessments, providing drinking water and immediate emergency supplies. We sent out heavy equipment to be operated across farms within Ko'olauloa to support rebuilding in areas that needed it the most, Laie Malo'o folks especially. In coordination with the city and county of Honolulu, the Ko'olau Hub Network is working to establish, was working to establish the coordinated community resource center, assistance center, And during storm preparations, we were handing out sandbags. So I'm sure some of you also are recipients of the sandbags that were at Auntie Cynthia's house on Hukilau Beach Park. That was in partnership with HRI, Department of Transportation, and West Oahu Aggregate. Right now, to date, we've set up 2 community assistance centers at Brigham Young University. I think I saw some of you there, which is great. We also did a farmer-specific community assistance center where we gave out over 500 storage bins, buckets, water filters, and super necessary supplies to our farmers, particularly. And right now, we're actively leading FEMA and SBA application assistance and reach out coordination events. So just wanted to give a shout out and say that we have those planned for every Monday at Hau'ula Civic Center from 12 to 8 p.m., Wednesdays at Key Project from 12 to 8 p.m., and Friday at Laie Marriott from 12 to 8 p.m., with the exception of May 8th. I just want to say that it's really important for us to make sure that we're paying attention to our network, especially because the effort of resilience cannot happen with one organization. We cannot do it alone. We have to work together as a community and as multiple organizations to push out this type of effort. And obviously, the Ko'olau Resilience Hub Network is a super great example of how that works. Mahalo.
Okay, so can I just make a comment? I think we started this meeting off talking about part of the purpose of this is also to celebrate successes. And I did hear about a lot of the say something, Ben? No. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so you guys did really, really well. And you know, how can that inform our discussion here? What I am hoping is at least by the end of this meeting, we've made a little bit of progress and some really next steps, right? And I think we also are hoping that our government representatives, we're going to have a regular full meeting on May 14th. We'll revisit this. So I'm hoping that some things might go home as homework for our public representatives, and then we can discuss them a little bit more on the May 14th meeting, because this is a pretty important topic here. Okay, well, one last comment, and then I want to turn to our government reps. I think we've got about another 40 minutes. So go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I know that Ilima also wanted to follow up after this. I just wanted to follow up to Rainbow as she was sharing some of the resources that we were able to support the community with. We also will be helping to host Rebuild Oahu at DPP. And I have some flyers for anyone here in this room or that's online that did not find out about this resource happening this Saturday, in addition to food distribution for our community as well. So if you folks know of anyone or if you yourself need that support on this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Laie Hawaii Civic Center. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. And did you want to say something?
Aloha, my name is Ilima. I'm probably like one of the newest members of this Ko'olaula community. I recently moved to Punalu'u and I'm right alongside the Kaluanui stream. So, you know, your talk about the streams kind of like, I was like, oh yeah, you know, because, well, one, I just wanted to give flowers to Olivia, Rainbow, and they were seriously amazing, like the most hama wahine that I've ever met. And also how Rainbow said it's going to take everyone, you know, it's going to take a network of organizations, it's going to take our representatives, it's going to take individual community members. And so when I was thinking about the comment about the vacation tourist rental or the tourists, you know, I'm like, I feel like in this community and in Hawaii in general, it doesn't even matter if you're a tourist or not, like we take care, you know, in times of crisis. But I think it's going to be something as simple as just like building pilina with your neighbors. And, you know, if you are alongside a stream, again, I got to go introduce myself to my neighbors around the stream because I don't know them yet. And similarly with the, I'm pretty sure there's some vacation rentals right in my area as well. So, you know, even just building pilina with, if there are visitors or the homeowner, and tell them like, look, like we are here if anything were to happen. And yeah, so I just think pilina relationships is super, super important with things like this. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to bring the public discussion to the close at this point and turn to our government representatives. Although I would like to say to Rainbow, I think the Ko'olauloa, the Ko'olau Resilience Hub Network has a standing invitation to come and present and discuss at this neighborhood board and how we can do a better job to support you and the good work that you guys been doing. So let's turn to our government representatives. I think again, just to cue you up, I think two of those topics, you know, the how do we take care of the tourist population here, and then particularly probably the most important one is the Kapuna network. But also, if you want to address anything in Dottie's presentation, there was quite a really substantive mitigation strategies and proposals there. You're welcome to. Let's start with Kat. Kat, are you here?
Hi, good evening. I'm here. I see Dr. Collins also on the online, and I think he's probably the best city representative to respond to storm-related items.
Dr. Collins?
I'm here.
Hi.
Hello, aloha, everyone.
Nice to see you. Any response to all of this?
Well, she said storm-related items. I've been multitasking here. Can you tell me what the actual question is?
Well, no. We were asking our government representatives to listen to a rather extended discussion and then find ways
Yeah.
to respond. So we don't have any specific questions. I think there
Okay.
were two areas that emerged as specific themes, and one was how do we support our Kapuna network, particularly
Yes.
those that are in clustered communities that may not have the support system or the managerial infrastructure and support that they need. And the second one is how do we integrate our and address the impact of our illegal vacation rentals and the tourists who may be here during an emergency. So those were two primary themes we talked about, but there were many others.
Sure. And first and foremost, aloha, everybody, and thanks for taking this time that you have done to focus on disaster preparedness and emergency management. And it warms my heart that there are communities like this that are taking it so proactively. And I wish others would follow your leadership and make it a higher priority. And that being said, I also saw Dottie's presentation and was there that evening, and so participated in those activities. And what an amazing evening of being able to brainstorm all the things that we did, and having that presentation from Dottie and the takeaways from so many community members contributing to that planning and brainstorming session. As far as the supporting of Kapuna, definitely right out of the gate, the first line of defense definitely needs to be not only the Kapuna's involvement, but their family's involvement, encouraging or helping the Kapuna to build a family plan first, and make sure that the family is aware and has a plan whenever there's whatever the hazard is, whenever there's a tsunami warning, whenever there's a flood going on in the area, wildfire, etc., and make sure that the family is all aligned and understands and knows the plan and knows whose responsibilities are whose, to take care of the Kapuna and help them evacuate and be by their side and that sort of thing. The second line of defense certainly would be more of the community, maybe not necessarily the family members themselves, but just having the community awareness of where the people that need extra help are, and being willing to help, and knowing and having that presence of mind to know that, hey, we're in a disaster situation. It could be flooding. It could be whatever the hazard is. I need to check in on Auntie and make sure that she's okay and doesn't need help to get out, or whatever the case may be. So having that community involvement as a part of that overall plan is really important. And then lastly, to the extent that unfortunately you may have to involve government in terms of emergency response and so forth, knowing what their complications are, what their medications they need to bring with them, what other types of resources may need to support them, when the government needs to be called, or who's going to accompany them to the hospital or whatever. That I think is all very important in terms of supporting the Kapuna, because obviously they may not spend a lot of time focusing on these types of issues, but when these issues happen, then it obviously increases the priority. As far as integrating or dealing with the illegal short-term rentals, I'm certainly not a enforcement agency at DEM, so I would leave that to others. That being said, know that from DEM standpoint, I really focus on all lives, and I have a responsibility to all the lives on the island and so forth. But what I think what is more important, or what is important, is that regardless of why they're here, or whether they're at the Ritz-Carlton up there, or they are an illegal short-term rental, we have to do better from DEM standpoint, and our responsibility in educating the people that are coming here to vacation, and make sure that they understand that they're coming to a place that is very fragile, that when something happens, there's going to be circumstances, and the environment that they thought they were coming to is not going to be the environment that they're in after a disaster. And so we need to better prepare our tourists, either before they come or once they get here, to make sure that they understand what all the complications are, and just how fragile Oahu is. But I'm happy to take any specific questions too, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. I think what we'll do this in the typical panel way that we've been doing this. So we'll let all the government representatives speak. We're asking you to stay on the line, even if, like Dr. Collins, if you can stay on the line until the end to field questions from the community. So thank you very much for that. Our next Matt Wires here. Thank you for coming out, and Chelsea, we really appreciate it. Really appreciate your support.
Aloha, Chair, board members, community members. I'll try to be concise, but then share everything I think needs to be shared. And so I'll trust you to cut me off if you need to.
Just go for it. Go for it.
I'll just start with thanking everyone for all the work that's been going on over the past month plus now. Appreciate Dottie, facilitating that process. It was very helpful for me to better understand individual needs across our diverse district. And then, of course, all the work that went in by yourself, the Hui o Hau'ula, and then, of course, the Resilience Network, they really hit the ground running as well to meet the needs of the community, along with individual community members and groups. Some were at that meeting, some, have been continuing that work. And so definitely on board with facilitating a process to kind of identify next steps. So for us, immediately after the storm, we kind of broke down needs, and relied on my staff as well. I know I didn't get to talk to everyone individually and personally right away. I know Chelsea was calling in touch base with all the community association leaders and reached out to other community leaders as well. And we tried to isolate in on the most serious health and safety issues that were going on at the time. And of course, I think as we move into this planning phase, I do think having a community meeting, maybe my goal can be having a date and time by the May 14th meeting that we can share, facilitating that process. Possibly here, it sounds like folks are on board with that. And so bringing in everyone to discuss through how we have those lists of, phone trees who are going to work through communities we need to identify. So talking through some of those, the Kuku elderly discussion, but also other areas of the community. I think one thing that we can really utilize this experience for is we kind of saw one version of a worst case scenario in terms of how water moved. And I think mapping that out can help us just as a community know exactly who experienced what where, and who's going to be checking on who. And I know many of the community members here are already doing that. And so I think for us, where I sit, the value in that is just to making sure that no one's falling through the gaps, because I think that's something that isn't just apparent in this storm, I think a lot of government processes have cracks and gaps that our families are falling through, but I think it's become particularly clear as we've navigated responding to the Kona lows and then, of course, the recovery. And so I'll have more info on that as I brainstorm with community leaders, but we'll open that up to, anyone that wants to participate and hopefully can identify, next steps from there. We're doing that same process with North Shore Neighborhood Board. I don't think it has to be an official neighborhood board committee meeting, but I'll defer, of course, and take input from everyone that wants to participate. But similarly, I think engaging in that process to identify who's already doing great work, has the planning in place, and then where we can supplement that, whether it's city coming in. Yeah, go ahead. So I'm going to coordinate, but I'm happy to hand off. I know I don't want to, I think community leading is always appropriate. I see my role at all levels as, when the community needs support, we're here to support. And then, of course, when there's things that we're best primed to do, that's what I want to do. And I'll talk about that a little bit with budget too, because I can use some help from you folks. But we'll work on coordinating a date, time, getting that info out through the networks. And so happy to do that. Okay, so again, I'll try to be concise. So we did hand out our newsletter. And in addition to the build event, on the second page at the bottom in yellow, there are the different locations, dates, times for folks helping with the various FEMA assistance, SBA assistance, working through some of the forms. And of course, we know there's continued engagement by all of our nonprofits in the network every day to identify needs. But wanted to just highlight those. Of course, the one specifically at the Hola Civic Center going to be over here, key project, and then also the Marriott's going to have as well. We have at the top of that page the link to oneoahu.org. I think by now a lot of people are already aware, but that's a central website you can visit to get a lot of this information. So that includes all the information on city-specific services, which we kind of did an overview on the next page. So those are things like the property tax remission, the donation registry for folks needing to get in contact with the donor. I'll just flag that they haven't started implementing or rolling out that program because they're currently working with folks that have signed up to make sure it's fitting within the other applications that they're working on. For example, we don't want to disrupt FEMA relief by bringing in donations that maybe don't align with the requirements there. And so that's all a part of that process. And again, trying to prevent people from falling through the gaps. About the FEMA Small Business Association relief, I just wanted to flag that having these conversations with navigators is something I would encourage anyone that's been affected to do. Because I know when you look at some of the information, not all of it's going to apply to everyone. But for example, SBA does generally loans. And so I know a lot of people, nonprofits, households, businesses might kind of just tune that out automatically. But when you're thinking of options that exist, right? Like a resident in Wailua just reached out specifically to our office about how do they raise their home, for example, what are options for that? You can also refinance if you have outstanding payments on your home up to $500,000, right? So, and that would be at a dramatically lower rate than you're probably paying now unless you refinance, right? Early, maybe 2010s or whatnot when the rates were in the twos. But again, those are just options that I think aren't going to be appropriate for everyone. But I think ensuring that we're encouraging and helping our neighbors connect with resources so they can assess. And I'll just flag for SBA specifically, they did note that the June deadline, we want to encourage folks to meet that. They said they automatically give a 60-day window after that. And then, of course, we'll do an as needed discussion with folks that are impacted in case needs, flow beyond that date. Can everyone hear me okay? I feel like the mic's going in and out. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of that's the overview of relief. I could talk about a lot, but of course the website has a lot of info. If you run into specific issues or concerns, I know Chelsea is on speed dial for many of you. You can reach out to our office, call me as well, email. Happy to walk through any of that. I'll just note, because we kind of addressed the Kampuna conversation, switching into budget before I do that, with the STRs, totally agree it's a problem. I mean, just as an example, um, you know, one local resident in a two-story home that was trapped on their second floor because they didn't know the water. By the time they woke up, it was already too high to get out. And then the vacation renters next door had to swim with their 5-year-old, you know, over there and then took shelter. And so I agree 100%. Like, it's a issue we need to incorporate into our emergency planning in terms of how we respond to visitors in general, because that would include also folks that are maybe staying at Marriott or Turtle Bay and then maybe in legal vacation rentals. In terms of the illegal ones, I mean, I think my position has to be and is that we need to continue to beef up and enforce and ensure that if you're not operating legally, that we want to ensure that those units are being utilized for homes, particularly in this housing crisis that we have. And so that's kind of the struggle and what we've been working with Department of Planning and Permitting on in terms of getting information. The new map that's up on the website has all the violations that have occurred and shows the history. And so that's a good resource, I think, for the community, just to see kind of where things are, status of particular properties. And then I think it's following through with that enforcement because, like you said, the fines add up. Some people don't care, especially if they're making tens of thousands of dollars on their unit. We did foreclose, was it, I think it was last year, on one property in town because the fines are up towards $1 million, right? I think we do have to follow through with enforcement. And I'll just flag, I am empathetic. You know, a lot of folks struggle. There are folks that want to do the occupied rental of, say, a bedroom or something like that. No judgment on my part, but just flagging that that technically isn't legal. And I know it's come up in neighborhood boards or mayor town halls, and there's been conversation of what we want to prioritize, but just want to make sure folks know until we change the law, anyone doing that could possibly get a notice of violation and a fine. And so want to make sure our community understands that. Of course, I totally understand why they'd want to. But again, we're wanting to ensure that as many units for housing in our community are used to house actual local families. And I know that that's going to vary. I'll take questions after, defer to chair on how he wants to navigate that. And I know I've talked a lot. So I'll wrap up with budget. And so we have our budget committee meeting tomorrow. This is for our second round of amendments. And then if it passes out tomorrow, it's going to go to full council for final reading. So there, and I'll just flag, so there's some amendments that got put in already that we put in, some that came through conversations with admin, like for the Resilience Hub, not all the funding, but you know, portions to support. And of course, we worked with departments to respond to immediate needs too, and those can fall within their budget already. So like put the repair work at Kokololeo, like different parks, you have concerns, we can work and try to fit it into the existing budget. So these are additional proposed amendments that are not currently in the budget yet. Some of them were in budget chair's draft that she filed about an hour ago. And so that specifically is the $1 million for kupuna feeding. Doesn't mean we don't want support still for that. I'm hopeful it will stay, but as we continue to have conversations about balancing, we never know how that's going to shift. So the rest of these, I wanted to just flag a couple, right? So there's two types of funding in there for the Wailele Stream project. Just simply put, that relates to where we are in the process. Because the project was more expensive than the small project threshold, U.S. Army Corps is having to revisit the process. And so we put funding, proposed funding in there to cover the match that would be required. And we also put in proposed funding to just cover the entire project, because I think the community's concern with that one specifically was just the amount of time that it's taking. Totally understandable. And I think getting dragged into another planning process frustrates everyone and frustrates me, because we want to just see, you know, a response. And so that's the reason that's listed in there twice. I'll note that I am particularly concerned about the Office of Economic Revitalization cuts. Those 20 staff positions cut. That just leaves film office staff and a few community equity liaisons. So all the work that they've been doing, like for example, when we were up at KVA a couple Monday nights ago, doing the farmer outreach, you know, OER was there supporting the Resilience Network, who really put that together. And you know, they've been deployed in Wailua as well. Again, we're not trying to replace community with any of these positions, but they would be the ones that could help administer and roll out recovery programs, aside from the work they're doing every day like the digital equity work they were over here supporting in Hau'ula before. Also want to flag a specific position, almost done, I promise, but so the watershed management position in there, I think is important. It's not included in the proposed budget. What that would be, it's a position we had got into budget 2 years ago and it was never filled. Essentially, it would be someone to work with multiple city departments that manage our streams, at least city portions of the streams. And then from there, also coordinate with community and then state and federal partners. Because I agree, a lot of folks don't know about the private ownership aspect and responsibility. In addition to that, you have folks in different parts of the community that may have different amounts of funds or ability. And so we really want to identify an actual solution. So we know part of that solution, as we talked about today, is leaning back on historical knowledge and community responsibility, of course, and incorporating that. But then how do we supplement that as the city and then grow that into something that actually is keeping everybody safe? And so I think that includes, we need to be identifying when city's going to be supporting. We should just have rights of entry mapped out already, because that's one of the struggles in terms of getting into the stream when it's private, right? Going across private property, you need private landowners to be supportive. Do we need types of grants available to private property owners? At minimum, we need coordination, because I know plenty of people in here probably know community members that have heavy equipment that are ready to jump in. Other nonprofits, Team Rubicon has even offered at times, but again, they need access and then they don't haul away debris. And so that's something that we need someone to kind of map out and help plan this whole system. And so that's why I think that position is important. So wanted to just flag that in case you wanted to weigh in. Again, at the bottom, there's links to both our CIP and our operating budget. The programs are listed under the particular budget. So if you want to testify, you can scan that, go to the link, submit testimony. There's a button on the bill. I would say at this point, emailing budget chair Okimoto would also be helpful, given it's already nighttime and then committees tomorrow at 10:30. And I'll just flag, in addition to that, we have in addition to the small business recovery program that OER is supposed to administer if they don't get fully cut, and we have funding for supporting farmers that we'd like to see put in the budget that's not in there. And then we also have a nonprofit recovery fund that we'd like to see in the budget that's in our amendments that's not in there either. So if you want to support any of those, I'll be around after, can talk story more, but I think I got through the most important parts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was great. And those who know me, I usually like to move things along pretty fast, but this is actually pretty important stuff, and people have come all the way out here and given a lot of thought to it. So we started a bit late, so I usually like to land the meeting at 2 hours. I think we're going to go a little bit over this time. Try to do it at maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes, so we maybe finish at 8:15 if we need to, okay? So to give people a heads up. So thank you, Matt. And so let's go on to, do we have anybody from Jill Takuta's office? We're going to do the questions at the end. Yeah. Jill Takuta's office. No. So then the next one on the, where's my agenda here? There we go. Erica. I know you're here from our governor's office.
Here.
Hi, Erica.
Hi, how's it going? Good to see everybody.
Nice to see you.
Okay, you can hear me, so I'm gonna just start.
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good to see everyone after a couple months. Thanks for gathering. I wish I could be there in person tonight, but looking forward to seeing you all soon. I first wanted to just thank Atalina and Rainbow, if she's still on too, for attending the convenings that our office had on recovery related to health and well-being over the last month or so. And thank you to Dottie for her leadership and outlining those recommended strategies so effectively. I will be sharing Dottie's full presentation and notes from this meeting with the governor's policy team, as well as our relevant state departments, especially DOT regarding the roadway recommendations, DBED around tourism, and DLNR regarding the stream management equipment recommendations. And I'll come back to the meeting in just a few weeks with those responses. But as always, feel free to contact me in between meetings via phone or email. I'll drop those in the chat if they're not in the agenda already. And I think a lot of them have been covered, but I'll, have my usual, list of resources and things. And I'll drop those in the chat.
That's it. Oh, you're finished? Okay. Thank you, Erica. Let's go down to Senator Awa's office. Do we have any representative from there? And how about from Sean Quinlan's office? Do we have Lucy here?
Hi, everyone. I wanted to apologize that Representative could not be here. We are currently in conference and have been these past few days. We are very proud to announce that we are continuing our efforts with helping everyone during the flood. There will be a state and city grants and federal loans for small businesses. So if you would like to know more information, please call our office and we will guide you through it. I'll put my phone number and our email in the chat. And we are still hoping to pass the state budget maybe later tonight. And are excited to give you all the update next month as we get everything finalized. And the statewide ban on gondolas has passed through our conference committee. And we are so proud to report this passage because many people were concerned with the high tourism and this agricultural tourism occurring. And we want to continue preserving the sacredness and cultural significance of the land. So this was a great step forward. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. I guess one of the things we might ask is if Erica and our other representatives could come back to us on May 14th with some specific guidance and recommendations relevant to those two areas that the community was particularly concerned with. One was Kupuna emergency preparedness, and how with the state or with the city, how would you recommend we interface with them? What do you think needs to happen within those various agencies to support the concerns about Kupuna safety and the communities here during emergencies, and then also the issue of vacation rentals? And I guess if I can be the first person to comment, Matt, I'm wondering if there aren't provisions for enhanced liability for people who are running vacation rentals, that there are provisions that might be if you're running a vacation rental and someone is hurt during an emergency, during flooding, there might be special liabilities that would accrue to them more than anybody else. So this would do two things. One is it would dissuade them from doing vacation rentals, but it would also, it's kind of a harm reduction thing. They would have to take provisions maybe to ensure a little bit more safety. So I'm wondering if that's an idea that might be considered. Or maybe it's not, but.
Yeah, well, I'll look into that. I appreciate that. And I'll just note, we'll look into that, how we can do elevated fines. The fines are actually pretty high daily. And so I think it's also a part of getting our enforcement. And I'll just note, because it's been a sensitive topic in the community. And again, like I empathize with both sides, but the non-judicial foreclosure discussion at the legislature, as much as we're mindful of, and I'm not saying we should be stepping on private property rights, the main goal of that, I think, has been to facilitate easier land use ordinance enforcement, because not just STRs, but even like activity on agricultural land, it's just kind of gotten out of hand. And of course, from the city side, I mean, our goal is always compliance. So, I mean, good faith missteps, we're not looking to overly penalize folks, but I agree 100%. So we'll look at how we can maybe increase fines on folks that are putting.
And it's not just fines. It's just if I come with my child to a vacation rental and there's a flood and something happens to my child, could the owner be more liable?
100%. So,
you know what I'm saying?
So if we're talking about personal liability, I mean, that would be under state law.
Okay.
But
sorry.
No, you're good. No,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
good. And I would say right now, like someone could always do a tort claim. Like if we're talking about the family that got brought into an illegal unit. I'll look more into it. I want to eat up all the time. But
And the other thing I was wondering was what type of real estate disclosures are made when people purchase homes? And can we enhance the requirement of education and engagement among realtors and people making those transactions so that they understand their responsibility of the stream when they purchase the property?
We'll talk to our state delegates about that too, if that can be integrated. I'll just say one thing. Please do follow up with the Board of Realtors if you see any activity that you think is violating the law. Because we've had multiple conversations, and at least what they're telling us is they expect everyone to be complying with the law because that's in line with their clients deserve. Again, we'll take it at face value, but I'll just say, please do report. You can touch base with us too and give us information if there's info you want us to pass along to them. Because from their side, just like say you have a bar association or another, professional association, part of their training and their education is relaying that information. And of course, I know if you have bad actors, I mean, they're not necessarily going to be always complying, but just wanted to share that. We have raised it to their attention as well.
Thank you, Matt. Catherine's had her hand up for a while. Oh, no, let's go to the board first. So,
Matt, I
and then
just have a question. I know a few people who have flood insurance have now tried to make claim. I'm just wondering if you guys have any report of how they were denied. Because they've been paying their flood insurance for years, eons. And now that this happened, I'm just wondering if there was anyone that you guys know of, homeowners, that are not having a hard time. And if there is a place where they can go to and who they can go to. If you can just find that out for the communities, it's for all of us, because I know some of our people that are trying to file a claim for the flood insurance. So I just thought I'd ask that question.
Yeah. I know you
Good.
wanted to respond. So I was gonna say, feel free with any of these situations, have anyone that needs to or wants to reach out directly to our office, and we can navigate them to appropriate resources. I would say talking to the assistance center folks, like FEMA, SBA, may be able to identify fill-ins, right? Because in terms of their specific claim, I don't know without talking to them and seeing like why they're denied, what it's saying. And we can definitely help explain that to them. But then in terms of next steps, like say, the donation match may be a good resource, the FEMA application, but I don't know if you have more specific info you wanted to share.
So with the Ko'olau Resilience Hub Network, we're working with Pono Legal. They're a group of attorneys who are helping families who are trying to file their insurance claims.
Yeah.
And with FEMA also, if you're denied, FEMA will supplement whatever your insurance doesn't cover. So myself and Olivia Wallace that shared before, we've been trained as disaster case managers. So at the 3 different locations, we'll be there helping families to apply for FEMA. And one thing that we've noticed is a lot of families, they have a hard time getting past the identification portion. So that's creating a login.gov account. Sometimes it doesn't identify them right off the bat, and then they have to call FEMA, which is on the East Coast. Their hours are 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week, and resolve that.
Okay.
One more question. So if you have a kupuna who's been paying, how do you get to answer their question if they file, so like some of the people, they're just asking, so how do we get our money? Because we've been paying flood insurance. How do we file? So I'm just wondering if that some of the questions that these people are asking.
Can I just piggyback? Sorry, I don't want to cut anybody else. But really,
hold on just a second. So is it directly in response to that? We've had people online who have had their hand up for a while.
I don't want to cut anybody off, but the insurance auntie, and I know Atalina could back me up on this because I was in Maui, the commissioner of the insurance for the state came in and had meeting and meeting and meeting. So I just told Chelsea, and please, everybody online and Matt, It has to be the insurance commissioner. They have to come in. They have to explain A, B, C, D, because the lawyers and everybody else is going to fight for everybody that has less insurance, more insurance, over insurance, under insurance. And I learned this every single night when we had meetings, community meetings like this. She came out and she explained everything. So I just wanted to piggyback on everything. And I'm sorry to cut people off,
That's
but
all right.
I'll leave it alone.
It's helpful. Thank you very much. I just want to go online to Catherine. Did you have a comment?
Thank you. Yes, I had one. I wanted to ask that all of the representatives there, especially the mayor and the governor's representatives, um, speak to their employers about the need for number 8 on Dottie's list, which is an alternative route for exit. And I feel people will actually, if in a real emergency, some people will take their vehicles and do it anyway. But the leases will not be signed till 2027. And I would like to read or hear that there has been real forceful words that the governor and the mayor have put forward in those negotiations. That's one point. A second small one in terms of tourists. Anybody who's driven north or south has passed Pat's, has witnessed an interesting sign that says check in, which sort of like really proves what we've all known is that they're kind of a hotel. If you go look in there, what they're doing, I thought it was just redoing of the lot, but it's more than that. Something's going on, and it would be nice to know what is going on, and maybe somebody knows who to contact there. And then number 3, I would like to bear public witness that this meeting with all of these representatives there, especially the mayor and the governor, is that I teach when I have the privilege to be able to gain access to Halava Correctional Facility. I think it's got a new name now. I'm waiting to teach my class that I do with Chaminade in the gym because the Learning Center has been being recuperated since August. And I'm waiting for the prisoners, of the inmates to come along. The ACO and I and some of the young men there who are cleaning up have the wonderful privilege of witnessing a foot-long rat climbing along the outside of the screen of the gym. Now, I do not care why or how you are incarcerated. And I do care, however, for the working conditions of people there. And if it is out there at about 8:45 in the morning, there is an infestation problem. And we as a public owe the workers and those inmates better facilities, heads down. And I'm just bearing witness. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Catherine. Ben and then Dr. Collins. And then Evelyn.
Aloha. I just wanted to bring out, I'm on, okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up to Matt and actually to Matt, what Evelyn was saying earlier today on what they can do with that Kahuku community and that issue with the management. Apparently, a lot of senior citizen areas or Hawaiian Homes areas have poor management people running their organization. And so in that particular case, what can we do? What can the city do? I think you said the city has a contract with the state. The city, yeah. And how can we help them so that when in time of emergency, right, they're able to alert them, get them going, and because a lot of times the families will be stuck at somewhere else. They won't be able to get over there, right? And so even though that the doctor said that oh, well, the family's going to check on it. Well, not if you're stuck in, you can't get through. So that management is responsible to make sure that those families are okay, the kapunas are okay. They need to come up with a plan for that. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, so I agree. A plan for that's important. And so that'll be, I think, a part of the community planning. I think rest assured, like we'll make sure we directly check in with more folks over there for future storms. Appreciate the bus that went out when it did. And I know like a lot of good ideas came up today about the storage of sandbags and all that. And so we'll definitely incorporate that into our planning. Dr. Collins may have additional thoughts as well. I know his hand's up, but appreciate that.
Thank you. Randall.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back to the insurance issue that Auntie brought up, and just wanted to make sure, everybody's clear that when it comes to the National Flood Insurance Program, that is a FEMA administered program versus regular insurance coming out of, any type of insurance carrier or whatever. So, and, I know Councilmember Wire mentioned, to raise those concerns to him, and Rainbow is certainly key out at the courthouse and the community assistance center there, where FEMA is also working. But Rainbow or Councilmember Wire, if you're getting any word that flood insurance is not being accepted or honored or whatever, please let me know. Bring that to my office so I can run that up the FEMA chain, so to speak, and get it into Region 9 and others, and try to find out what's going on with that. But being that it's a FEMA administered program versus just a regular insurance program, I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. And if there are issues too, please let me know.
Matt's going to respond.
No, thank you for that. I was just going to text Harold out, but if you want to take lead, I think maybe making sure there's that conversation happening at the assistance centers, and that at least that they're aware that folks have been possibly getting denied or may need additional help. But I'll defer to you on next steps.
Atalina, is this in response to the same topic? Okay, so we're going to do Evelyn and then Atalina. Oh, and then Elgin.
Thank you. One of the things that we had talked about with different entities, the city, county, state, that over in the Kahuku Sugar Mill, there are a lot of lunch wagons and abandoned vehicles and things. In fact, one of the lunch wagons, the red one that's in the retention pond, it was completely covered during the storm. And there was all kinds of flooding that was going around in the sugar mill. And there's no one person to contact. There's nobody there's 3 pieces of property there. They have different owners and they lease things out in different ways. We need some sort of, we've asked the DVP to come down there. They've had multiple groups come in, but I don't think we're really getting to the heart of this problem, which means we need in your community plan that country rural shopping centers are not tourist centers, but we should be allowed to have lunch wagons and so forth, but not vacation buses coming through the Kahuku community parking lot. I mean, it's crazy. And during the rush hour or during lunchtime, or the kids are going in and out of school, it's like a zoo. And our roads are already pretty packed, but then, the only places that opened during the flood were the lunch wagons, because Kahuku still had electricity and we were only ones. And it was really good that we had the lunch wagons, but we need to have this place regulated, and it needs to be regulated for safety. I mean, if somebody gets hurt over there, who are you going to call?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. So your concern is there's not sufficient regulatory attention given to the food trucks. Okay. And then Atalina, did you have a comment? Or would you like to have your baby speak? I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
I do have all the contacts of each owner if you want to chat with me. I mean, yeah, maybe I can chat with her, but I think this is a good idea. And maybe we could talk with the Kahuku board as well. I feel like they've had thoughts about it. And yeah, maybe making some kind of regulation would probably be really helpful, just to have rules across the board of what Kahuku community wants. Because I know that each owner has expressed that they want to do something good for the community. They want to work with the community. I think they would love to know those things and be, figure out everything. So if I can be of help, I'm not like, I know all of them though. I mean, I know the numbers at least. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe some little food truck association, something like that might look at some of this stuff. Okay.
I have a
Atalina,
comment.
and then, wait.
Sorry.
Sunny, is this about this that we're talking about? Same
Yes,
topic? Okay,
yes.
go ahead, Sunny.
So I
Sunny's one
think
of our
part
board
of the
members.
yes, part of the biggest issue that we've been facing is working with the landowner or the property management company of the specific landowner. You know, there were plans that they proposed to the community, and it hasn't gone anywhere. And despite community input and suggestions and recommendations, you know, it just didn't make much headway at all. And I know part of the concern for the community is like if they're going to do such development or have these food trucks, we want to make sure it's done right and we want to make sure it's done safe and that they're adhering to all the DPP regulations. You know, a lot of community concerns were brought up about, you know, the wastewater, you know, the how are they disposing of the oil, and what about the electrical and the plumbing. And so there's just a lot of things that were happening in the past that weren't really being addressed or addressed. So that would be something that we would need to visit as well as we collectively try and figure out a good solution that makes sense and that is safe for the community and also supports our local businesses.
So maybe Sunny and Allegra and Evelyn can have a conversation about developing a more effective planning and regulatory environment for our food truck culture there. And not that it's their jobs, but this is where the heat is and the discussion. So maybe you can come back to a future meeting and share some thoughts. I'm going to want to move on pretty quickly because we are running out of time.
It's important that we have been, a lot of us have been working on this together. We need governmental support. We need the Department of Planning and Permitting to come down here and help us figure out what's going on there. Because it's overwhelming. There's too many little entities over there.
Yeah. Our government representatives are listening.
So we can have a follow-up conversation too after you guys connect. I'll just say like any concern that comes to us automatically gets sent to DPP enforcement. I don't do favoritism. I don't even look at the name.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes like neighbors are going back and forth too, but we do let inspectors know, and we know they do go out and then they do issue NOVs. And then of course the goal is compliance too. And so that's generally what we do is we loop in the inspectors. And so to the extent that there's violations, I know we went out there with Dr. Collins.
Can you use the microphone, please, Evelyn?
The city needs to make an ordinance about lunch wagons in country community shopping centers and how they are regulated and what's allowed and what isn't. This isn't something that one little lunch wagon, they're just renting a spot. They're not the entity that's running this whole place.
So maybe what we can do, Allegra, maybe Allegra and Sunny, maybe you can make an invitation to DPP to come to the neighborhood board meeting and have a discussion about this. Okay, I go ahead. One last thing, and then let's move on. I want Elgin, and then we can probably close. But go ahead.
Just real quick, I know that there has been inspectors to come. I know to the like more Mackay side, there's been inspectors over there talking to the food trucks over there, and so I know that there's been like regulation for those, but there's not. I mean, that's kind of a newer area, and there's like 3 or 4 trucks, so it's not hasn't been all over. So I think making a collective something that is shown for everybody for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I know that some feel like, oh, we're complying, and then others haven't heard anything. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And this is brought up in the context of also emergency preparedness, right? Be able to support them to be a real asset in emergency preparedness and also ensure their safety.
You cannot escape when the place is all busy and there's vendors that are blocking the roads.
Okay, thank you. Elgin?
Okay. I want to talk about the illegal vacation homes. Okay. Now, I want to ask a question to everybody. The illegal vacation homes have been going on for over 20 years and has been getting worse. What are we doing about it? Nothing. Why don't we take it into a criminal offense? The brokers that are renting these out, the real estate agents that are renting these out can go to jail. Class C felony, they're ripping everybody off for thousands, millions of dollars. And what were you doing? Nothing. 10 years, 15 years, they're taking these guys to court and they're just throwing out stuff, millions of dollars. How long did it take to get millions? 20 years of him doing this? Why don't we turn it into a criminal offense? Who thinks that would work? Raise their hand. Okay?
I don't know.
So why don't we do it?
Okay, thank you, Elgin. Did you guys say? Okay, I actually, if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to bring it to a close unless anyone has something really burning they need to share as we close. Again, we're going to be asking our representatives to come back and address those two issues particularly. Okay, one last burning question.
Sorry, I haven't been to any of the special meetings in Laie, but my heart goes out to Laie because of all of the destruction and the flood impacted families there. Naniloa Loop, all of those families, they get flooded all the time. We've done outreach there. In 2021, they got flooded. 2026, 5 years later, and they're still getting flooded. What are we not doing, and what do we need to do to make sure that these families, they've already ripped out their flooring, they've already ripped out their drywall, and I just look and I say to myself, another big rain and they're going to be doing the same thing all over again. What can we do to help these families? A family on Yosepa Street, an auntie there told me she lived through 4 floods.
Good God.
And she's just tired.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, what can we do so that these families can recover and that these recovery efforts can be sustainable? Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a good note to end on. Thank you. Can we approve the minutes last time? Okay. Okay. So if there's no objections, let's close the meeting, shall we? What? No objections. Oh, the minutes? Oh, okay. Can we approve the minutes? Any objections to approving the minutes? No. First. Okay, we got it. We're done. Okay. Hey, everyone. Thank you for coming out. This was an off night. It was a good discussion. Hopefully, we'll have some really productive follow-up on May 14th, and I'm looking forward to hearing from our government representatives and keeping things going. So thank you, everybody.
I get plenty.